Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lunch Without Lunch. I am Bridget Legault, Community Manager in Calgary. We have Amber Rowden here, Community Storyteller in Calgary, and a few folks from our Edmonton Steering Committee who can give a wave. James Kierstead will be introducing us to all things rainforest here in just a moment. But prior to doing so, we'll just take a moment to reflect and acknowledge the beautiful lands that we have to enjoy across our country and whatever area you might be in today. For those in the Calgary region, we acknowledge the lands of the Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina, Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and everyone who makes their home within Treaty 7. And for those in Edmonton, we acknowledge the unceded traditional lands of the Treaty 6 territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, as well as the Métis. Again, if you find yourself in another area of the world, we ask you to take a moment and reflect on the traditional territories on which you're sitting on. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to James to give us a refresh on what is the rainforest.
Welcome, everyone. I think we get a video up here talking about the rainforest really quick, so I can spare you that.
Okay.
My explanation. This one will be better, I'm sure.
Here we go.
What does it take to realize an idea? Or for a seed to sprout? At Rainforest Alberta, we know the answer is rooted in trust. Traditionally, Albertans have cultivated their ideas in established systems. Inputs that don't fit these systems are weeded out. Opportunities for growth are missed. But now, Albertans want a dynamic landscape that can evolve organically, like a rainforest. At Rainforest Alberta, we believe a culture of trust is the fertile soil where ideas grow. Our budding innovation ecosystem is a network of relationships pulling each other up as they push forward in their own field. Trust breaks down barriers. An open, inclusive network increases collaborative innovation. Successful breakthroughs inspire new ideas. A cycle begins. Rainforest Alberta is a movement to amplify trust by cultivating honesty, inclusion, and accountability. How? Our social contract holds us accountable to demonstrate trust across the province. We meet to have honest conversations around collaboration. This leads to more inclusive spaces for everyone to fearlessly build new ideas together. By raising the standard of trust, Alberta's ideas, talent, and resources can be evergreen. Visit rainforestab.ca to sign the social contract and start growing together.
Great. So we use 6 pillars to guide our conversations and actions. Not all are weighted equally. Like any ecosystem, the right balance is crucial. These are measured each year through our scorecard assessment. And for those of you from the Edmonton region, we just launched the scorecard assessment here in Edmonton for November because we wanted to get it in our normal annual cycle. So if you're from the Edmonton region and you want to fill out the scorecard, let me know. I'll drop it into the chat as well. 30% is culture, 20% leadership. We're also looking at resources, engaged activities, policy and infrastructure, and role models. Next slide. So tips for making the most out of Lunch Without Lunch: introduce yourself in the chat, connect with individuals through direct messages, put your camera on. It's always great to see faces. I know this is virtual, but the more we can interact with one another, the easier it is for us to build that trust and create that connection. Ask questions, keep connecting on the Rainforest Slack workspace, and check the Lunch Without Lunch notes for capture of today's chat. And recordings are also posted on YouTube.
Oh, James, we added this last week. I forgot.
Well, hey, this is great. So we're talking about one of the principal values in the social contract. Today, it's about free help. I understand that I receive valuable help from others for free.
Yeah,
that's the great thing. And I think we have it pay it forward is another one, which is I'm always ready to help the community, help others without expecting anything in return.
Absolutely. And that was kind of the purpose of this exercise. We started adding one of the social contract values at the end of this intro every week. And we asked for you to reflect on how you live this value. And if you'd like to share that in the chat, please feel free. Or you can just, think about that on your own. I sometimes get feedback in the rainforest, that there's lots of, especially like, not selling your wares, but a lot of kind of promo being had on our Slack channel and that sort of thing. So part of flashing the social contract values in front of us every week is to get rerouted in those and maybe reframe some of our conversation around, how can we not just ask, but help others? And many, if not everyone here is well versed in practicing this, but it's always a nice reminder.
And we should also always be aware that this isn't about us creating a network to sell our wares. It's about supporting one another. So that should come in time as those relationships get built and are stronger. People will naturally do business together. But my recommendation to build trust, don't ask for people to buy your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well said, James. Yeah, it takes time to build that trust. So that's great. I'm going to stop sharing here.
I'm super excited to be here, Bridget, to hear both Jade and my good buddy Zack share with us what they've been up to. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to you to lead us on.
Thanks, James. That's great. Really excited about today. I'll just make a really quick mention. James mentioned the Edmonton Scorecard. As many of you know, because we talked about it a few weeks ago, the Calgary Scorecard is getting a bit of an overhaul. We're hoping to get it out to you all either before the end of the year so we can capture 2021 data. If not, it will be very early in January. So watch for that in Calgary. I do know there are 2 separate scorecards at this point in time, one for the Edmonton region and one for Calgary.
We hope to see that next. We hope to see that combined next year to be unified. Totally.
Awesome. Okay, so really excited about today. Hi, Zack. I see you in the polka dot door there, and Jade is here. I am really excited because some announcements today for awards that Startup TNT has been receiving, both Zack individually and the organization as an ecosystem supporter from Start Alberta. So I'll let you guys maybe touch on that more. But just to give like a really quick intro, and I don't have formal bios on either of you, other than I know you're both entrepreneurs, co-founders, investors. Zack, I think you're a scientist. Tell us more about your background because I'm intrigued. PhD, maybe, I don't know, all sorts of things. And you add a lot of like authenticity and kind of grassroots movement to what's happening in the ecosystem, which is why I was really happy to see you guys awarded with Ecosystem Supporter this year, because the work you're doing is like, you're doing it. You're not just talking about it. It's so wonderful to see. So I'm just going to pass it over to you guys and we'll have an open conversation with you both. You can tell us the journey of Startup TNT.
Sure. Thanks. I'm really happy to be here and really happy to be here with Jade, who I met through Startup TNT. And I prepared a couple of slides just to kind of give everyone an overview. But Jade, why don't you and I give a quick intro for ourselves, so just so everybody knows. And maybe I'll go first. I'll do a quick intro. There is a bit of a rainforest connection to the start of our happy hour that I'll also share, which is so quick background on me. I'm American. I like to share that up front with everyone. And I went to McGill for my undergrad and PhD in chemical engineering, moved out to Alberta to do a PhD, or to do a postdoctoral research fellowship, I should say. But made a choice at that time to really focus on commercializing technologies rather than building a research group. So as soon as I got here, I really focused on technology commercialization. Actually met James Kierstead early on in those days, who mentored me a little bit on a few projects because he's a volunteer and helps out the community quite a bit, always giving back. And then, at the same time that I did this, I also got involved in the angel community. So I'm able to be an angel investor because my wife and I have inherited some money. So I was experiencing our ecosystem as a scientist with a background that wanted to become an entrepreneur, interacting with other entrepreneurs through those networks, but then also interacting with the local angel investing community. And when I first heard about the rainforest movement, I actually got really excited about it because I was like, we need something that's a little bit more grassroots that's happening. James was one of the leaders in Edmonton who was bringing people together to have discussions. And it was at one of those kind of like all-day forums where I think there was
Rainforest Summit.
Yeah, it was one of the summits. One of those summits. There was a sort of like an activity towards the end where we broke off into tables and thought about what's something that we could try out. Like, how can we get started bringing, like, improving our culture, improving connection, doing something that we want to see in the ecosystem. And at my table, we talked about having a regular meetup of some kind where people could get together. And this was when, I think at the time, I was an MBA student. I was a new dad. I honestly didn't really have the capacity to launch a weekly happy hour, but I did it a couple of times with people. We tested it out. It was really nice. And then I think it was about 6 months or a year later, when I finished my MBA, I was a little bit older and I said, you know what, I want to go back to that idea and I want to do it. I want to have a regular place where entrepreneurs can meet. Back when I was in university at McGill, there was this thing called Thursday Night Tradition where everyone got together at the local pub. I said, we should have something just like that for entrepreneurs every single week. So I called it Startup TNT. Thursday, the TNT stands for Thursday Night Tradition. And we've now been meeting for 100, I think tomorrow's week 132 weeks. We've been meeting every single week. And it's very much embodies the spirit of the rainforest. Get people together. We have a simple philosophy: have fun, make friends, build companies. And that's really all about get to know people in a genuine way first. Don't complain about how other people in the ecosystem aren't pulling their weight. Let's all pull our weight. Let's all be the people that we need to be in our ecosystem. And let's do it in a way that builds genuine relationships, because that's what business is all about, doing things with people that are great. So that's my quick intro. And one of the great people that I met was none other than Jade Alberts. I mean, look at Jade. Jade Alberts is a perfect example of what I love about TNT. The first time I saw Jade Alberts, he was on the Zoom screen. And I'm like, who is this guy? He looks like he's in like his little son's room or something. Like, what's going on back there? Turns out this guy is like a marketing aficionado, used to run like Nathan's franchises across the country. Now he basically works full-time, peer mentoring other entrepreneurs, done a bunch of great things. He's joined us many times at the Investment Summit. He's one of our leaders down in Calgary. Jade, I like to tell people that they're going to introduce themselves, and then I introduce them for them. So
the Zack Storm introduction, hey, just takes it over. It's good to meet everybody. I pop in here at least once a month, but my background is a heck of a lot different than Zack's. I'm a university dropout, so I got no PhD, no nothing, just a small town Sasky who started his career in sales and ended up being an entrepreneur. And we exited our company, which allowed me to become an angel investor. And we were kind of doing it on our own for a while with a couple buddies and a little bit of an investing group. And I went into Startup TNT because I heard about it. I think it was through the CIC. I went and applied. I got denied. And they said, you can't invest with us. And I was like, what the hell? So I just left it alone. And then I ran into another person who said they're investing through TNT. And I said, how did you get approved? And he goes, I didn't get approved. I just applied. So long story short, I was approved, and I wanted to go through the process and to see what it was like, because I heard good things about them. And if they were going to be the company that, took the longest shot, the biggest risk and things along those lines, I wouldn't be interested. So the training of the angel investors to help our community, which will benefit, 2, 5, 15 years down the road, is priceless. The due diligence good. It follows my investor thesis of really looking at the founder. And, now in 2.5 years, we've handed out almost $4 million to 24 companies and growing and expanding across the country. So that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you, Jade. All right, Jade points out that our initial vetting process for the investors was a little bit confusing when we first joined. So thank you. Okay, I got a couple of slides. I wouldn't mind sharing the slides and showing just like kind of key messages, but then definitely opening up. I want to get questions and have a conversation. So let me show everybody a couple of slides that I prepared that kind of give a bit of an overview. I'll go into present mode. So yeah, at the risk of giving a shameless plug, we are having our big marquee event tomorrow. So if you're in Calgary or you're in Edmonton, you can join us in person in Calgary. We're going to be at that brand new Platform Innovation Center. In Edmonton, we're going to be at Polar Park Brewing, the location of our original happy hour. And it's also going to be a virtual event too. So if you want to sign in from home, you can sign in from And I really view our investment summit program that I'll talk about a little bit here in the event itself as part and partial to the happy hour, kind of building off the spirit of the happy hour. We got these sponsors on here. This makes me look really corporate, but these sponsors are super helpful. Kind of give you a little background here. I can point to some of these as sponsors, like Alberta Enterprise Corporation and Accelerate Fund. I literally just had like a call out in my newsletter back when we first started the happy hour and said, hey, I want to put together some cool event in February where we raise money for local companies. Who can help us? And both Alberta Enterprise Corporation and Accelerate Fund responded and said, we can give you a little bit of money if you'd like some money for that. And now they stuck with us and they're still sponsors. And since then, we've built great relationships with people like BDC, CBRE, KRP, AMFM, who really are helping the entrepreneurs in the community. People like Peer Guidance. Look, Jade's in there. Jade's company's in there. Okay, but let me give you a little more history there. So we kind of talked a little bit about it. The TNT, again, it stands for Thursday Night Tradition. And here's a fun image on the left of our very first investment summit. Or actually, it might have been one of the pitch nights for the investment summits. And I think this really kind of captures this spirit as well. Like if I look at this image, this is actually kind of cool. See this person here on the right in the dress in like the black and pink with the long hair? That's Victoria. She was there at pitch night back in this is January 2020. She's pitching tomorrow, or Shelby, her partner is. They're in the summit. They're raising money for their startup. That's like such a cool story to kind of see this happening right before our eyes as part of the community, which I think is like really special. If I make this personal for me, like really special to be able to, become friends with the entrepreneurs, become friends with the investors, and then watch them grow and raise their companies right before our very eyes and showcase and celebrate them all in like one kind of comprehensive experience. And then over here on the left, you have a couple of investors that joined us that first night, and they're still investing with us now. So, and then everyone, I think that's Aaron Budnick there, one of the founders of the Rainforest here in Edmonton. Okay, so a lot of great local people you're recognizing. And here, fast forward to today, we're still doing it. Here we're making a toast to one of the local executive directors of Startup Edmonton here in Edmonton. And actually, this person making the toast works now. She used to work at Startup Edmonton. Now she works at Drug Bank, the first company that won our investment summit back in February 2020. And they're actually in the process now of going like gangbusters and building and probably doing another round in the very near future here. This is kind of like, if I look at this, if I summarize the organization, it's get together with great people, bring different parts of the community together, and then actually help them build companies in a real way, which is with investors. And on the topic of investors, like the thing that appeals to me about our investment summit and the process, I actually borrowed this from another ecosystem. I went to a seminar, I learned about this thing called an angel summit that they're doing down in Seattle. And I said, this is perfect. Because really what it focuses on is simultaneously training entrepreneurs and training investors. And when you do it with a process where it's casual and approachable and it's part of like a weekly cadence of meetups, it's just about generally all working together to build community as like kind of one cohesive ecosystem. And I know that's exactly what the Rainforest is all about. And so we're very much in line with that. So, and I think that like this is maybe a bit of an overlooked aspect of any ecosystem, any startup community, which is the amount of time and energy and sophistication that's required to become a good angel investor. And like, just because you have the money or you have the experience in business from a more traditional background, there's a lot of things that are quite different about angel investing in a tech startup than in like, say, a real estate company or a traditional business. And Startup TNT Investment Summit offers an opportunity for all those people that are interested in it to learn in a very hands-on way, where they're committing upfront to invest $5,000 into one of the local companies that applies. And basically education is built into it. We do proper education seminars, but we also do a bunch of peer-to-peer learning. People like Jade Alberts that have been here for a while, they basically take the lead on doing due diligence and they share directly with the other investors, what they think. And that's where a lot of the learning comes from. Actually, maybe I'll stop here and ask Jade if he wants to add any context to that.
Yeah, I talking about Startup TNT, you hear me say it all the time, the people that the entrepreneurs are going to meet are almost more important than the money that they're going to receive or not receive. I mean, and not only through like our company, that Pure Guidance that does it, but there's many opportunities that we sit there and help these companies out that don't win. We'll sit on a monthly call with them, a weekly call with them, make sure we're guiding them in the right direction, making sure they're getting the right advice. And that's not only me, it's the other 90 angels that we have that are willing to give back and give their time to help the ecosystem grow. So it's a very collaborative community, which ties into, even some of the main investors. There, not only are there ones that just commit 5,000, there's ones that'll cut checks for 100,000 or $200,000. So, and those people have had big exits. So, and they're willing to give back. And even on Telling It Like It Is today, when I had James Lockery on, that's kind of the next level of them building their $100 million fund to really give back. But it's got to start somewhere. And these small little angels that are starting at 5,000, maybe 2 investments a year, might have a couple exits in a few years, and then they'll give back, they'll give more, and learning how to properly invest in a company is extremely important.
Yeah. And, I think Jade really hit it there, which is like the money is the thing that maybe grabs headlines, but the experience, the relationships you're building, especially slowly building genuine relationships over time is what we go for. And we really work hard to instill that culture among the entrepreneurs and the investors. Like it's not supposed to be a winner take all business plan competition. It's real deals, real investors, real transactions happening. Okay, and so actually the next slide, I believe, is a quick summary. $3.9 million raised. That's incredible. Considering that when we do one summit, like in one city, we basically ask 25 to 30 investors each to commit, $5,000 up front. But what we always see happening is that multiple companies raise money because the investors do all this diligence together. They gain trust amongst each other. They get excited about the deals. And we kind of have a system where we can rapidly syndicate many small checks. So it's beneficial to the company. The company's in the end receiving $50, $100, even $250,000 sometimes as basically one check that they receive on their cap table. And we kind of do all that kind of herding of cats behind the scenes. And look at the types of companies you see here. And I really want to stress this. I'm showing you the 18 formal syndicates that we've done. There's been another half dozen deals that happened just directly between the entrepreneurs and the investors. But if you look at the ones we formally syndicated, you see basically a representation of our startup community. Look, like Future Fields is in cellular agriculture. ZS2 is in clean tech and building construction. Drug Bank is a health technology company. Uproot Foods is a food company. I mean, this is a food company sort of like with an innovative business model around, high quality local goods. Arbor is a B2C SaaS company with an ESG focus. 2S Water is, a hardware company. Aerolytics is a B2B SaaS company that's in clean tech, focused on oil and gas. Wine Crush, another clean tech company. You've really just got everything. I think this is what's really interesting to me, is that at Startup TNT, we're industry agnostic. Any company that meets the key definitions of a startup, which is they're going for a global customer base, they're scaling to create something big, is a fit for raising money at Startup TNT. And all sectors have been represented, and that's really exciting.
And even to what Al said, there's a question here that says all people, it's amazing of all the lives you touched. And one thing that Zack didn't say is we are putting almost 120, 150 companies from Alberta now into Saskatchewan on a global stage where companies from all over the world are seeing them. They're investing in them. We've had 5 companies that we weren't allowed to invest in. Well, 4 of them we got to. James let us in with Arbor, but 4 other companies that started off in our summit and they were fully funded because someone saw them. So it sucked as an investor not getting to get in on them, but you know what? You're happy for them because they filled the round. And having these people, having these companies, seeing in these summits for top 20s and top 30s, it is priceless to show how great and what great companies are starting to come out of Alberta.
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty important point that we really like to focus on is that showcase. Like let's celebrate and broadcast what we're doing here as a community so everyone knows, and let's be really proud of it. And there's some great, some of the highest quality investors that I know in Alberta are also investing in these deals, which I think is quite special for first-time investors. And I think this, to me, is what it's all about. As a first-time investor, you could be investing in a company like Drug Bank that received investment from the Accelerate Fund, received investment from Ray Mazika. These are top quality investors in our ecosystem that you're co-investing with in some of these deals. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's kind of like
kind of all we had.
Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to stop with the slides, to be honest with you. Here's current stats for the last summit. So, well, actually, maybe I'll just touch on this one briefly, which is, we started off in Edmonton. This was before the pandemic hit, and everything was in person. And we did it in Edmonton. And then when the pandemic hit, we realized that everything had to be virtual for a while. In fact, I joke that we actually ran our happy hour virtually for longer than we did it in person. I think we might have caught up at this point, but that was true for a while. We now are running 3 independent streams. So this isn't just like an Edmonton. This isn't even just an Alberta thing anymore. We now have Alberta and Saskatchewan happening. So tomorrow, if you join us, you will see 5 companies from Edmonton, 5 from Calgary, and 5 from Saskatchewan. And we have independent investor teams from each of those regions also evaluating all the deals. And you'll see a minimum of 3 companies raising money. And we'll see how many deals actually happen. But I would anticipate more than 3. So there, I think I can leave it there. Maybe I'll stop sharing my slides. Yeah.
Really incredible, guys. Yeah, the work you do is, like Alan said, it touches so many, but it's just, it's inspiring to watch the summits. One of the first virtual events I did it in the ecosystem, Zack, was like a Jeopardy thing you hosted at was it last summit?
Yeah, a year ago.
It was freaking hilarious. I was just getting to know everybody. It was a great way to get to know everybody. Really funny. So you make it all fun and you make investing accessible to many. It's incredible. We got questions though. So let's go to V. V, you want to unmute?
Yeah, love it. Amazing. Can't wait to get involved. And I just wanted to know what are your thoughts on trust and getting people to share their IP?
So general thoughts on trust. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the philosophy of Startup TNT is kind of in the order that I think is important for building trust and building relationships. Have fun, make friends, build companies. So, we try to focus on, I think how Bridget put it was perfect. Accessible, casual, fun, kind of all those things together. And you can get to know people slowly over time. That's why it's a weekly happy hour. Like when we first launched this, people were like, no one's going to show up every week. And I'm like, I know, I am. Because I want to build trust and relationships with everybody slowly over time. So I try to focus on kind of genuine relationship building through the happy hour. And then maybe on the IP question, I think that's one that actually is a bit of a challenge because people are nervous about sharing their IP. But don't share it willy-nilly, but I think sometimes we keep our IP too close because we're worried that people are going to steal it, even though there's a very, very low probability of that happening.
Yeah, I guess on that, I mean, we have, I think once out of all the investments at summits that I've been in, I think we signed 1 NDA, right? I mean, we have a Slack channel. Everybody that is in as an investor understands the importance of keeping someone's technology, IP, whatever patents secret or to themselves. So it's not shared. It's discussed internally when we have our due diligence and where they think it'll go, what the value it brings to the deal and things like that. So it's, again, I mean, maybe it's a Western philosophy thing, a prairie thing that the trust is there, but there hasn't been any, I don't know, leaks, I guess, if that's what you want to call them, but the trust is there in our ecosystem.
Thank you so much.
Peter.
Hi, nice to see you, Jade, Zack, and thanks very much. And I think this whole approach just embodies the whole concept of the Rainforest social agreement. Quite frankly, that whole idea of getting together and working together. Any comment, Zack, on how you see the relationship expanding into the larger equity players and the big financing companies and the stage 3, stage 4, and are they on side with that kind of infectious nature that this kind of sharing agreement looks like?
Are you referring to people that are doing like Series A, Series B rounds, like venture finance?
The big players that want to come in after things are kind of moving ahead and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, this is actually a big part of our philosophy at TNT is that, if you want to build a great angel investing community, the angel investors have to be approachable. I could actually expand that to investment community. If you want to build a great investment community, they have to be approachable and basically a part of the startup community. So any high quality, great entrepreneur in your local ecosystem should be talking to the angel investors at kind of those very early days. Yeah. And what we find is that like we actually work hard to try and build relationships with VCs because we know that we might be investing in a slightly earlier stage than them, but all those VCs realize that the deal funnel and the pipeline, it's a long-term play. So I think they actually are quite open to it. Especially when we were doing it virtually, we actually had quite a few that would join us virtually. There's less VCs physically in, say, Edmonton, although there's more in Calgary. So we don't get them. We get them fairly often at our happy hour in Edmonton, the ones that are active. So I think the VCs that I know are generally quite open and embracing this spirit. And I might, on this note, Bridget mentioned an award earlier. I just received this award that is actually sponsored by the Venture Capital Association of Alberta. So I think like if you guys believe in our spirit, that's like pretty formal recognition that the venture capital industry also believes in it.
And we also get a lot of phone calls from the VCs, right? They want our opinion. They know that, we've run businesses, we've probably exited businesses or are still running them. And they want to know what it's like to work with that founder, right? I mean, everybody will have their investor thesis and so will VCs, and they're looking for certain things. If I was to share mine, I would say I'm looking for MRR, I'm looking for the founder, and then I'm looking for scalability, and it kind of goes from there. If you talk to someone like Edon, he's focused more on tech, and then it filters down from there for him. But a lot of VCs want to know how are they to work with, are they coachable, and tons of questions. I mean, I'm probably on 1 or 2 calls with VCs a month asking questions about some of the companies that we've invested in. And, honestly, again, it starts with the founder, right? And that's, if you're going to sit there and be a dick to angel investors, VCs aren't going to want to invest in you. So, you got to treat everybody the same and make sure that you're coachable.
Richard, you're muted.
Oh,
It's nice of you to all wait for me to unmute like that. It's very kind of you. You could have just started talking. I'm just laughing at James's comment too. Great comments though, Jade, but I was just chuckling at James's comment to Zack about his pivot from PhD in chemical engineering to this work. Comment, Zack?
That's a great question, James. I was sometimes I was sharing this recently with people where I feel like it took me until I was 35. So between the ages of roughly like 18 and 35 to figure out kind of like my professional life in a way that made sense for me and like what I wanted to do. Like I joke, like back when I was in high school, life made sense to me. I played sports. I was good at school. I had great friends. We did a lot of fun stuff. It was like, this is what life was about. And I felt amazing. And then once I graduated from high school, I feel like I literally spent the next almost 20 years trying to refigure out how life makes sense as an adult. And I feel like as a PhD and purely a PhD, it only semi made sense because I wanted to do more with my life. So now I feel like Startup TNT brings it all together for me. That's my short answer.
And I'm 49 and I still have no idea what I want to do.
You're in good company.
And I'm older and I have no idea.
Alan, did you have a question? I know you're unmuted. Any comments, questions?
No, I'm just in total awe. I don't know how I kind of didn't really become part of it. I guess it's because I kind of returned to the entrepreneur space that I didn't really know that much about you guys. So I'm wowed from where you are, because it's not just about the entrepreneur space. It's, it's really that community connection and, bringing people together. And it's not always easy, but your concept is fantastic.
And we actually have a lot of people that are current entrepreneurs that are investors as well, right? They want to give back and start building their portfolio before they retire or exit, or they're tired of the stock market, or like Al Daldegan have too much Bitcoin. So they want to do something else.
Well, I think
honestly, we actually see this a little bit already. Like actually one of our investors in Calgary was the co-founder of one of the companies that raised money at the Spring Summit. But I'm looking forward to the day when some of the early entrepreneurs that participate with us, grow their business to a point where yeah, exactly. Now they want to invest with us. And I think we're going to start seeing that pretty soon here, which is pretty exciting for me.
Now, what about if I'm an individual with a bit of cash that I want to try this out as an investor? How?
Well, we
how
have a
can you help
rigorous
me?
application process. You have to talk to Jade about it.
I
because
heard
others
it.
have been rejected.
I heard that.
This is what I like about it, right? I mean, we have accountants, we have HR professionals, we have construction workers that want to invest in, and they can't write maybe a bigger 25 or 50 or $100,000 check, but they want to start building their portfolio. So at $5,000 at a time, they really start to understand why you should invest in a company. And I don't want to say why you shouldn't invest in a company, because every company we look at probably has 1,000 reasons not to invest. And we try not to focus on that. We want to, think more positively and that everyone's going to be successful, even though we don't. But it's a very good community where even as I have, I think 15 or so investments out there, I'm still learning every time I'm going through a due diligence, whether it's from the entrepreneur or a new investor that comes in. I was like, oh man, I never thought of that before, or, well, that's a very valid point. So you really get to understand the art of investing through TNT, which is, in my opinion, priceless.
Yeah, and it's a continuous learning process. But I mean, I think your original question was like, how do you get involved? It's really just, we generally just have coffee with you and confirm. There are some specific criteria you have to meet that are set by the Alberta Securities Commission, which is, I think, why we accidentally rejected Jade originally. There was a miscommunication about those criteria and how to meet them. But once we confirm that you meet those criteria, and honestly, the conversation is really about understanding you have the right mindset. Because keep in mind, people are committing. If you're an investor in our process, you're committing to more than just like angel investing as an angel investor. You're committing to learning, you're committing to a sort of team-based due diligence process. You're committing that the money is going to go into one of these companies, even though it might be your second choice. It's usually competitive. We don't have like 100% of investors saying this is the number one company. We have a subset of that. We use a ranked ballot process to determine the winner, but it's each investor gets an equal vote.
Anyone else want to throw out a question before we head into breakout rooms?
I'll throw out a quick question. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Gail.
So much is going on. Thankfully, we're getting a lot of momentum going on in the tech sector. And so it's great to see, this investment mindset and the entrepreneurs getting supported through dollars and through, we help employ people through the First Jobs program. And then the accelerators, the Alberta accelerators are coming, and which are funded by Alberta Innovates. And the international accelerators are coming, as well as that pre-accelerator with Platform Calgary and Innovate Edmonton. So how do you see the next 3 years, perhaps, whether it's this year or next year, that all of this can come together to help create just a better future in Alberta for the tech industry?
Well, I think the real thing those accelerators bring is like a world-class and international network of experienced people that can really help our local entrepreneurs, take their companies to the next level. And I view Startup TNT's role is getting more of our local wealthy individuals that are ready to invest, able to invest, and supporting entrepreneurs at the very early stages and building community around that, but also working closely with those new accelerators. So that, say, a company comes through TNT, maybe they raise money, maybe they don't. They might be a good fit for one of those accelerators to get to the next stage. And that's 100% what we plan to be doing and working closely with.
In many ways, I see what's happening here is like another pre-accelerator that you're running or next level up. But also, I think 3 years out, 5 years out, these types of grassroots initiatives, whether it's Rainforest or Technology Alberta or TNT, it's what's going to keep the companies here in Alberta and create the new ones, right? Because that's kind of it. There's always a concern. If you bring some external in here, we could lose our companies if there's nothing keeping them here. But the community and a supportive community is what can do that. So
I think you're already seeing that, Gail, right? I mean, even when talking to James today, right, who had to leave, and what does he do? He comes back and he's going to be investing in the majority of Alberta companies. But I think, Benevity has proved that. Cement is proving that. Jobbers is showing that. Who just got, a lot of them now are here, and they live here, they stay here, and they're going to play here, and they're going to invest here when they're done. And that is like, we are early on in that cycle right now. And accelerators will help that, as long as companies don't get accelerator happy and start jumping from one to one. They got to focus on growing their business. But people are going to stay here, invest here, and play here. And over the next 10 to 25 years, it's just going to be a booming economy for many sectors, not just tech.
Yeah. I think Bridget brings up a really good point there in the chat too, which is there's a lot of advantages that make Alberta very attractive from a practical business standpoint. We were just talking to Future Fields, one of our first companies. We're going to do a virtual lab tour with them, and they actually they tell other people that they know internationally like how much they're paying for rent, and it like blows their mind. And like what they can accomplish with like a $2 million raise is like 10 times. It's like feels like 2 or 3 times, maybe not 10, but 2 or 3 times more than what people with a $2 or $3 million raise can accomplish in a place like Silicon Valley or Boston. So I agree, like kind of that community piece to support everyone, complements the practical business reasons why you want to build a company here. And we're golden.
Yeah, I just saw too that Manitoba government just announced funding into NEO's NEO's staff, which is pretty great. That it's heading east into, and that you guys are operating in Sask. I'm a Sasky girl, so bring it to the prairies. That's awesome. Okay, but we will hop into breakout rooms. We have time. B, I see your hand up, but maybe we can ask it in the breakout rooms or when we come back, so we have some time to connect on a smaller scale and everybody can have a chance to chat. So I will open up the rooms. I just want to say that normally we do reserve the last 5 minutes for community announcements, but if you could please check out the link Amber put in the chat for nominations for People's Choice Guest and Host for the Libby Podcast Awards. If you could take some time while you're here at Lunch Without Lunch to nominate your favorite host or guest, be really greatly appreciated. And don't forget to join us on the 25th. Rooms are opening. I'll see you in about 7 minutes-ish. Starting Marie. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you all had some great conversations. Few minutes left for a community announcement. So before doing that, big thank you to Jade, big thank you to Zack for coming and sharing your story and inspiring all of us to take part in the work. You're doing it so rainforesty, and we just love it. Startup TNT investment tomorrow. Link is somewhere buried in the chat, or Google it for tickets to watch these pitches tomorrow. Innovation Week in Calgary next week. Tons going on. I'll throw the link up for that. Her Story competition, female pitches tomorrow through the 51 and Alberta Innovates. You could spend the next 10 days just on Zoom watching things, so or in person, so have fun with that. Any other announcements out there? We do have the Libby Podcast Awards. If you want to come and watch, we have a bit of a fun hour planned, an hour and a half-ish, with a lot of networking time, connection time built into that. Link is in the chat as well, so please come help us acknowledge all of the volunteers that take part in the Libby podcast. Anybody else?
Can we make event announcements?
Yes.
Okay, so weekly, the Hubble Incubator is running educational sessions for entrepreneurs who want to build their skills as they transition from validating to scaling. And they're free events. We have them on Thursdays from 12 until 1:30. And I posted the event registration in the chat. They're free, and this week's focus is on product market fit. So going through and making sure you're making a desirable product, and then how do you go about telling that story to have the most impact possible.
Very cool, Cameron. You have a link you've shared? Okay.
Yeah, it's just a little bit further up.
Okay.
I can repost it if you want.
Yeah, I sure, that'd be great. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. That's great. Anyone else?
Hello, can I?
Yes.
Hello, nice to meet you girls, nice to meet you men, for everyone. I am here in Calgary for 10 days, and I'm so happy because I can start talking with you physically near, and I'm so happy to stay here again. And the last time when I was in the rainforest moment or in this room is from Brazil, so now I'm happy for staying in Calgary. Nice to meet you guys. I put my link of LinkedIn in the chat now, and I will be happy to stay and connect to you there.
Awesome. Welcome to Alberta, Jack. Nice to have you. That's great. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? All right, that's a wrap. Next week, we're doing something super cool. I should really start pulling up the schedule so I know what's happening next. Something awesome. Watch our social, and we'll keep the room open if anybody wants to stay and continue connecting for the next half hour-ish. You're welcome to do so. Have a great week, everybody.